What's up, everybody? I want to welcome our Luca Nation community back to what I think is going to be an amazing show today. So, I want to welcome you guys back. I haven't done the intro in a while. Welcome back to another episode of Luca's Tigers and Bronze. Oh my, and we have a special show for you guys. I want to talk about a few things today and then give you guys plays. I want to talk about the collectible sale, the Babe Ruth SGC 3 card. I want to hear your take on that. I want to play a little game called Would You Rather. It's going to be fun. We did it once before. Our Luca Nation loved it. Finish.
Yeah,
Yep.
but just be careful what road you go down when you play that game. Just keep it PG. Keep it PG. That's all I ask. All right. What's the third topic?
And then we'll talk a little bit about NBA playoffs. I mean, Dame went off. That was an insane game. One of the games was a blowout. The other game was exciting. And I'll let you take a guess which was which. But and then we'll get into our plays. So, Cage, that SGC, first off, shout out to SGC. That's a big deal for them. Record-breaking sale. But isn't the motto, buy the card, not the grade? And that is one ugly-looking card, man.
Well, I mean, listen, it's like a pre-rookie of the Babe. This Babe Ruth card from 1914. You know what I mean? It's like considered like a pre-rookie. But once you get into those type of cards, there's not that many of them in any grade. You know what I mean? I think you talk about like the Honus Wagner, which is, a seven-figure card also. I mean, I think the production numbers on that are anywhere between 50 and 100 surviving copies total or made ever. You know what I mean? So that's why you see ones in an authentic holder still worth seven figures. So, yes, buy the card, not the holder. Sure, that makes sense if you're at a card show and you're looking at, a whole bunch of Zion prisms and you got your choice of a bunch of 10s. Some of them have better centering than the others. But a card like this, you're buying the card almost no matter what holder. It doesn't make a difference. But also, I mean, we'll get to the card in a second. What it tells you is different people grade different cards with different companies. Different companies had their niche. Different companies had different times. I know a lot of T206 collectors that will only grade with SGC. They have a couple people who have almost a full monster set in the old SGC slabs, not even the black new tuxedo ones. They have like the old ones with the numbering and stuff on them. So it doesn't surprise me to see this type of a card in an SGC slab. It wouldn't have surprised me to see it in. It would have surprised me to see it in a Beckett slab. I'll say that, but it doesn't surprise me to see it in SGC. Just because Beckett, when Beckett got popular, it was modern grading, it was subgrades and stuff like that. Nobody cares. 107-year-old card. That's not. No one's gonna care about the corner subgrades. They're not gonna be good.
Yeah,
they're
not gonna be good.
So
they might even take away from the value.
Right, like BVG doesn't really do subgrades anyway. So the point being, Beckett was never really their bailiwick. That was never really, nobody really ever said, I'm going to go to Beckett for vintage. But the card like that, listen, it's huge, right? Anytime there's new records being set in the hobby, it's like every time Golden has an auction and there's 35 or 40 new cards itself for higher price, it shows the health of the hobby. It shows the amount of money, just the sheer volume of money being poured into this by someone who's willing to spend, $6 million on a single card. And, why wouldn't it be Babe Ruth? It's not my favorite Babe. There was a story that doctor who passed away, I think it was in Florida, who left like a $20 million collection or something like that to his family. And that had a 33 Gaudi yellow number 53 Ruth, which is the more valuable one of the collection, in PSA 9 mint. I mean, just an absolutely stunning, gorgeous card. I'd mortgage my house 26 times to try to be able to buy that card. This card, like you said, it's a little weird, a little red, a little, odd looking. But a little
not the best looking card in my opinion. But let me tell you,
round of applause to Collectible, right? I mean, did you read about the deal?
Well, that's what I wanted to share something. So a few interesting things about this deal. In an era where we have people making record deals and they want to be kind of, the face of the hobby, or they want to be public, this buyer wanted to remain private.
Yep.
That's pretty interesting. Another thing is the Ruth card, which has been in the museum for 23 years. Was purchased by someone anonymous. They'll remain anonymous and will remain in that museum. So no change other than the collectible announcement and the change in money from investors. So that's also kind of a cool thing. It's actually going to remain in that museum. And the buyer is keeping 99% equity and offering 1%, which is equal to $60,000 in at $3 a share. Very interesting motto. Very interesting motto.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. Look, I love what the fractional guys are doing. I love what Rally's doing. I love what Collectible doing. I love what what these guys are doing. Because here is now they're offering, I think it's 20,000 shares at $3 each. So really, it's not about the money. I don't know who bought this. I mean, I have some guesses. Why would somebody remain anonymous buying a $6 million card in an SGC holder? Maybe they now own PSA. So
Wow.
maybe they want to keep it silent. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to come up with reasons why somebody would stay quiet about buying the Babe Ruth.
Why would Willy Wonka want this card?
I don't know. I have no idea. Why would anyone want this card? I would like it look. I'm gonna go through my couch cushions right now. Hold on.
You think it's a cool card?
You know what? I found 17 cents and a chip from last night, and I don't think it's gonna be enough for me to buy the Babe Ruth over here. I don't think so. But point being, I don't know why you keep it silent, but clearly they're not going with Collectible to raise capital. Like, they're not trying to defray the costs of this purchase, right? So I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt some altruism here on the part of both Collectible and this new owner, and say, I'm sure there's gonna be a cap on how many shares you could buy. Maybe it'll be 10, whatever it may be. But basically, what they're gonna allow is thousands of people will be able to say they're a part owner in what is now the most expensive card ever purchased. It's definitely an interesting thing. There's no really.
It looks like a playing card.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm not. I don't mean to. So guys, what's cool about the show, and I've been doing a few guest podcasts. I'm telling my story a little bit more. Break in wax, no G. Break in wax is one I've done a show on, and I think it's cool. And I think our dynamic here is very interesting and fascinating to our audience, because I come at this as generally a rookie in the hobby, maybe going into my sophomore year. You're a vet. You're balding like LeBron, and maybe your performance is matching it.
Dude, I'm balding. Get on YouTube, folks, and don't let him get away with that.
But the point is, I have to share my true opinions, because I think other people who have just come into the hobby like me are going to be asking similar questions. That's not a very nice looking card. It just frankly is not. So I love the discourse. That's why I'm doing it.
So I call you Yoda, right? And I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to look it up. I wish I had every movie quote at my disposal, but he says something to, like, I think Luke Skywalker, Yoda says, like, when 800 years old you are, you will not look as good. And I'm going to say it to you. I'm going to say, dude, it's a 107-year-old card. It's not going to be chrome. It's not going to be prism. It's not going to be a refractor. It's not going to be a pretty thing. It's not going to be one of these, like, gorgeous, shiny cards. And let's see how good we look at 107. Think about what the printing processes were at the time. Think of what they were able to do with cards, right?
Okay, let me go slightly more specific. The design, even if that card was a 10, is lame.
Okay. All right, listen. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Obviously, the new owner of this card would disagree with you. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have spent $6 million on it. Although you never know. I mean, people. I've heard people say that Mona Lisa is not the greatest looking picture, but obviously it sells for a lot of money, right?
It's all true. Okay, let's move on to I think the game is going to be really fun. So we did this a little bit ago. We posted a clip. I think people loved it, so I wanted to bring it back today. And I wanted to define the game. So this is kind of a performance investing.
Can I ask you before you go off of it? Do you,
Sure.
Just because, listen, we try to bring value to folks. Do you believe part of this is a publicity thing? Do you believe any kind of cynic in you, maybe, who might be like, what the heck is this? It's a card. It's in a museum. It's not actually leaving the museum. The buyer is staying public, and it's now being offered in a weird fashion, like 1% of it being offered through fractional shares. Does that in any way,
So I'm a natural skeptic. Help me get there. Like, give me a little bit more of help me see the angle.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's just an odd thing, right? It's an odd scenario for somebody to, one, buy a card, not take possession of it, not say it's theirs, not take credit for it or claim it, leave it where it is. They're basically just, I guess claiming ownership of it now at $6 million. But then in one fell swoop, not just, hey, I'm buying this, but I'm staying silent, announcing it. So on one hand, it's I want to stay private. Okay, if it's really I want to own it, it's going to stay in the museum. You don't say anything. But instead, now the pendulum just swung to the exact. It's on CNBC. It's on The Athletic. It's on every single news outlet, as you would expect. Someone paying $6 million for a card, because it's being publicized. Because now everybody's got an opportunity to buy a piece of it through Ezra and Collectible. It's just the two sides.
You think it's like a lifeline for the hobby in a way?
Listen, yes. I think it's a very good thing, right? Anytime you can have news articles like this that cross over to mainstream, people can have dinner conversations. There are guys like me whose wives know they're into cards, but don't really give a crap. But on their way home from work or wherever, they're going to read this article in the mainstream and have dinner conversation about, did you see the Babe Ruth card that's over $6 million? That's always a good thing, right? And there are people out there who
Honey, make sure to bring your Jordan Fleer PSA 10 to dinner with the Matthew couple. I want Marcy to see what we've been collecting.
Whoever it is. Yeah. So,
okay. Show off to the town.
Or it's like, hey, can you go in the basement and see whether or not you have a 1914 Baltimore News Babe Ruth card, hun? I know you've been collecting cards. Did you happen to get this one? Not realizing.
No, I just have a 1914 Hustler, honey. Sorry.
Imagine what that would look like. Less than 10 of these. Less than 10 of these in existence.
Don't imagine what that would look like. Trust me. Don't.
Less than 10 of these known to exist. So rarer than Wagner. It's a pre-rookie card from Baltimore News. Babe Ruth actually made his debut that year in 1914. And these cards, obviously, to say they don't come for sale, if there's single digits of them, they don't come for sale that often. But the last person to acquire one of these was in 2013. So obviously, it's a huge thing. It's a huge, deal. It's an odd card. He's got one in the 1915 Sporting News, which shows him pitching for the Red Sox, which is a cool thing. I mean, because obviously everybody knows him as a Yankee. Everybody knows the colorful 4 cards in the 33 set. So it's pretty crazy, right? That PSA Pop Report, single digits. I love it. I think it's a great thing. What I can't wrap my head around is the two sides of the story. I want it. I'm not going to take it. I don't even want it for myself. It's going to stay where it's put. I'm just going to take ownership of it. I want to stay silent. I want it. I want to own it. I don't want to be named. But at the same time, boom, plaster it all over the world and offer shares of it. Right? So I get it, kind of, but to me,
do you think he could have bought it on the private market for $4 million, then immediately listed it with Collectible for $6 million and only sold a small percentage?
So this was where I was bringing you, right?
It's a quick $2 million flip.
So notice, I think that.
By the way, I'm not accusing. I'm just rolling with the punches here.
So read the article, guys, right? Which
article?
Again, any article about this, right? Read any article, CNBC, The Athletic, you name it. And what you're going to see is this. So it's funny how we're able to twist words. And you and I, we're wordsmiths, man. We have a podcast and people are listening. So now this is a record price, right? So if I were Rob G, for example, I mean, look, the hobby's great. It's good for his card that more cards sell for more and the whole deal. I would say this is not a record price for the card because you will not find what the card sold for. You won't find what it sold for because it's sold for a, quote, undisclosed price to an anonymous buyer. This is the details, the minutia that gets lost in the headlines. The headline is, this card's worth $6 million. Someone just paid $6 million for this, and they're ready to let a couple thousand people get in at $3 a share.
No, someone bought this card and is giving 1% away for $6 million evaluation. It's like going into Shark Tank and saying, Mr. Wonderful, I want you to invest. I'll give you 1% of my $6 million company for $60,000. Makes sense. Is the company really worth?
on the way into Shark Tank, they might have bought that company from somebody in the waiting room for $3 million. And
or they might
in,
have found investors a week before at a $2 million valuation.
So by keeping it private, thank you, by the way. I didn't want to have to go through all this myself. So it's great. I love the Wall Street mind coming to the table now. But yes, it's entirely possible that this card was purchased for 3, 4, 5, whatever. And the reason why it's not being disclosed is because they're now able to, by only putting 1% of it up for public consumption through collectible, set a new valuation of the card at $6 million by only offering 1% of it.
Because he or she could buy the 1% if no one else does?
It's obviously going to get sold, right? It's $3. $3 a share. People are going to buy it. And yes, the person who bought this card for $3 million could likely make sure that it sells out pretty quickly if they needed to.
Can I tell you? So, like, I'm the skeptic. Yeah. I'm a conspiracy theorist. If proposed scenario X did happen, beautiful financial, is it not just like financial chess?
So here's the fun, right? So one of the things we love about fractional shares is that they have to be public. But what they make public is their offering. Right, they're going to make
regulated. It's actually what we like about them. There's certain things that are public about them.
Yeah. So, but the offering is public. They have to file an offering statement. It's public. You can get it, but their offering itself is not a $6 million card. It's 1% of the $6 million card. Right. It's 1% of a card that, if that 1% were extrapolated out over 100%, it'd be worth $6 million. So everybody just be mindful of that, right? Nowhere in the public filing do they have to say this card was purchased for X. That's the part of the undisclosed price and anonymous buyer that is interesting to a cynic like myself. I apologize, folks. This is good news for the hobby. It's a great get for collectible. I wish I was the person buying this card for whatever the price is, because it's an amazing card, and you guys know I love Babe Ruth. But there are questions that I have when I see something like this because of the non-traditional nature that this is being brought to market. Is that fair? Can I? Will you allow that?
Not only is it fair, I think it's what makes us different. I think we're the best show out there. I really do. And there's a million reasons for it, but it's the fact that we could have humor and value, but also be skeptical, critical with an open mind. Because I don't think we approach stuff like, this is how it is, this is wrong, this is fraud. It's like, hey, these are the questions that pop up, and we discuss them on the air. I think it's valuable. I think to our audience, it doesn't matter what I think. I know our audience thinks it's valuable, because tonight in the Instagram groups, when people are listening to this at 7 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern, the Instagram groups are buzzing. People are having discourse or dialogue. So I love it. Okay, so the Would You Rather game. Now I'm worried this is going to be like an hour and a half, 2 hour episode. But hey, man, who cares, right? We're adding value.
We'll keep it short. You had 3 topics. We're less than 20 minutes on one. We got 2 more to go. What else you got?
Well, okay, Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens. We could skip right over that. It's kind of irrelevant.
Listen, I think I read a stat that from 07 to 08, if you go back most of the Danny Ainge, time at Boston, no team from 07, 08 till now has won more playoff games than the Boston Celtics. So it is newsworthy. They've been a successful
So guys,
franchise.
if you haven't read it, it's Danny Ainge steps down as GM. Brad Stevens taking over as GM. Now they're searching for a coach. What's interesting to me is the timing. This is less than 24 hours after they've been knocked out. So this has clearly been happening in the background. All year we've been wondering what's wrong with the Celtics. Well, now you obviously this kind of stuff is happening in the background while the team's playing.
Who's going to coach him? Jason Kidd.
That's a good hire. That's a decent hire. All right, let's do so.
My quick snap prediction right off the bat.
I like it. I like it. So he's had a lot of success with the Lakers and LeBron. Not. This game is Would You Rather, and this is in a bull market, not in a bear market, because in a bear market things get a little bit crazy. But in a bull market, performance-based investing. I'm going to give you 2 guys in baseball, then we're going to go to football, basketball, and I'm going to pick one. Okay, performance-based. All right. Cool. Makes sense. Do
Yeah.
you remember we did something like this?
It's 300 and something episodes, and I'm an old man.
But you have a
Yes,
memory. Okay.
I remember. Yes, I remember.
Okay. All right. Ready? Acuna or Soto?
Wow. I mean, you're gonna make them real hard like this. It's gonna take forever. I believe
1,000%.
right. I'm gonna go with Soto. I think he's already won a championship, which ultimately, when you look back on both of those careers, that is a huge deciding factor. And there are so many great teams in baseball that even Acuna, if he becomes the best player, not winning a championship, could hold him back. And the Braves could win also, but Soto's already got that huge check mark in his corner. So between those two, I'll go Soto because of that.
Pujols or Cabrera? Pujols or Miggy?
Pujols or Cabrera? Wow, you want to talk about like an even Steven. Whew. I'm
trying to pick even like that because I think a lot of people get stuck in these questions.
You forget how great both of those guys are. I'm gonna go with Pujols for two very slight reasons. Number one, Pujols had a decade where he was just like incomparable. Like he was Trout, right? Like people want to talk about Trout now. He was Trout and then some, right? Where he was either MVP or finishing in the top of the MVP race for basically a whole decade. But here's the one, and Miguel Cabrera was just as good and won the Triple Crown. Here's the difference that I have with Pujols as opposed to Cabrera. Pujols will be a better investment because the Cardinals are what he's associated with, and the Cardinals fans love him, and the Cardinals fans are loyal, and the Cardinals fans are a fan base that actually buys their people, right? And they hold these people up as greats. I think there was even talk of him coming and playing / player coach, but the Dodgers grabbed him, and smart by the Dodgers. But I can see Pujols after coaching, managing, having a role within the Cardinals organization and staying relevant because of that. Cabrera had a lot of success with the Marlins winning there championship-wise, and then also with the Detroit Tigers. So it's kind of a split there. I mean, on the field performance, very close. I give Pujols the slight edge because of that Cardinals draw. That's the little bonus, little cherry on top of Pujols. Make sense?
A Rosarena or Judge?
Ooh.
This is going to be all night.
Yeah, man. This is so. You know what? I'm gonna go with Judge. This is tough because a Rosarena I think may last a little longer because Judge just he doesn't seem to be able to stay healthy, and guys that big, they seem to break down and not have long careers. But I'm gonna balance that out and say I think a Rosarena will probably also slow down even if it's not by injury. And Judge is a Yankee. And he's going to play, significant years at the Yankees, and that just adds a huge, huge bonus to his collectability. And if he ever does anything with the Yankees, it's exponential. You know what I mean? You win a championship somewhere, that's great. But if you can win it here, you can win it anywhere, is what they say in a song, So
this is true. And you're aware this is both performance and investment. This is hard. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, Rosarena was great, had a great rookie year, but so did Judge. I'm talking about performance. By the way, you're picking very comparable guys, obviously on purpose. So performance-wise, so far the performance that you've given all three of these, very close on performance. Very close.
Kershaw or DeGrom?
Okay. I'm going to go with DeGrom here. Okay, a couple reasons. New York, LA is going to be a wash, right? Kershaw is actually going to win because he is he just won. He actually has the title. That was the one thing that was taken. And he is an all-timer, right? He's able to, with the win last year, kind of shake that he can't win in the postseason stuff. I mean, great numbers. But what DeGrom is doing right now, it literally has never been done in my lifetime and probably not in my parents' lifetime. You know what I mean? His ERA is so low in June. It's lower than I think anyone's had since, 4 decades now. We're talking about a long time. And what's crazy is his last start, he had 14 pitches in the first 2 innings of 100+ miles per hour. Somehow, I don't know if it's a strength training thing. I mean, I don't want to say steroids because he's a wiry guy, right? he's getting better as he gets older, and not just better. Like you can talk about Trevor Bauer with spin rate. You talk about that kind of stuff. He's adding velocity. How? Right? I have no idea how, but he's consistently throwing the ball 100 miles an
He's
hour.
on the Catkins weight loss plan.
The Matkins. I don't know what he's on, but
Matkins.
Here's the fun thing. A lot of people don't know. Your pitcher versus pitcher, right? You have this. DeGrom will be a movie one day. You have Cinderella story, you have the Cinderella Man, you have all these things. One day, someone's going to do a documentary / movie about DeGrom. Do you know he was a backup shortstop?
I was going to say because he was a field player.
Wasn't even a pitcher, a backup shortstop. There is a story about Boston. Shout out to one of our listeners who was telling me about this.
Boston Authentic?
Not Boston Authentic. So Al Clemente, he's a Boston guy, and he's telling me, I think it was 2012, the Mets were looking for depth and were looking for a backup catcher. And they had a deal in place. I think it was Ben Cherington, and it was maybe the Sandy Alderson regime, maybe for the Mets. But they had a deal in place, and the Mets were going to get a backup catcher, and they were going to give this Double-A guy who was coming off of an injury-plagued season named Jacob DeGrom. Right? Nothing, right? And I guess what kind of put the kibosh on this was one of the scouts in the Mets organization said, "Oh, give him somebody else. Don't give him this guy. He's got some promise. He could turn into something." Whoever that scout is should be in the Hall of Fame, or at least gets like a free hot dog. Because think about that. Like, I don't even know who the backup catcher was. I don't know who they ultimately made a trade for somebody else that I've never heard of. And it wasn't even when I was told the story, it didn't even register the name that I could remember it while telling the story. But think about that, right? Like, think about the Disney movie that opens up with a young backup shortstop in the Mets farm system who can't stay healthy, gets injured, is about to get on a bus to Boston to be traded for a bag of balls, right? And okay, well, the scout loves him, so keep him. And he turns into legit. Like, this guy is, if the Mets can find a way to win something when he pitches, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, it's just, so DeGrom's in New York. He's doing stuff that just it's not been done. He's, on pace to win yet another Cy Young award. And he's got some, some more time ahead of him, I think, than Kershaw does. It'd be nice to see the Mets win. That's the part of the equation I don't think is going to happen. But anyway, I picked DeGrom.
I love that. Now, where my brain goes is the DeGrom cards are a 10, 15-year play. Because if you think about it,
yes,
you said that, but we're not investing in the pitcher. We're investing in the story. Is it not similar to, like the Mickey Mantle? He's become more of a legend over time. There's things that over time become more legendary. Yep. Last one in baseball, we're going to go to football. Tatis or Vladdy G?
I'm going to go with Tatis. I'm gonna go out to Tatis.
That's your guy.
No, I have
because he could dislocate his hip and do a split.
Dude, he got injured.
Did you see that video?
He hurt his wrist. I mean, you got to be careful with him because he always seems to be getting injured, right? He was out already for 10. He's day to day now. He hurt his wrist in yesterday's game.
He's hanging out with Anthony Davis.
Here's the thing, all right? And Luca Nation Fit family, I apologize for this, right? Because we're all going to stay healthy for a long time, but fat guys like myself, it's easy. Ian says, "Fat guy," you hear him? He says, "Fat guys like myself, it's easy to lose weight for a temporary thing, right? It's easy to say, I got a goal. I'm going to lose some weight. I'm going to get in shape, right? I got a vacation coming up. I'm going on a cruise. I got all this stuff. But then when that cruise comes and it's all you can drink margaritas or, it's time to, be a gavone at the buffet, I lost my weight. I'm celebrating now. I'm on vacation, right? So
that old identity kicks in.
Why am I saying this? Because Vlad Guerrero Jr. is a fatty. He's a fat guy. And he had a goal. And the goal was, and you played that episode, the goal was to be in shape coming into the season, right? And Vlad Guerrero Jr., he did it. And he got in shape. And you know what? He's playing well. And he's having a good season. He's putting the numbers up. But you know what's going to happen? At the end of the season, maybe if he makes it to All-Star break, who knows? But he's gonna pat himself on the back. He's going to pat himself on the back with some In-N-Out burgers. right? Maybe he's gonna get some barbecue, maybe he's gonna get, I don't know what he likes, right? Maybe Chick-fil-A, I don't know. Maybe he's like a fat guy like me. Maybe he does some damage. Maybe he's a Big Mac guy. But eventually that fat guy inside him will catch up to him. And I think Tatis is not a fat guy, right? He just can't stay healthy. But those two guys, I say Tatis got a longer career ahead of him. He's going to be 5 tools. He's going to be able to run. Like before he got hurt yesterday, people were talking about 50-50. Vladdy Guerrero, I mean, I think he's just going to be fat at some point in time. So I
want to disagree with you, but as a big body myself, you're 100% right. You couldn't be that. I don't think there's anything you've been more accurate about.
Thank you.
Football. Russell Wilson or Lamar?
Oh. Wow. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. Right? I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. He still has some football ahead of him. He's done some great stuff already. He's already had some success. I think he may have, his best days ahead of him. MVP, maybe a Super Bowl. Lamar scares me. Even though he's young and he's got a lot of football ahead of him, Russell Wilson has played now this will be his 10th season, right? And he's managed to stay relatively healthy. He's putting up stats. They're putting a good team around him with DK Metcalf, and always seem to have a good team and great defense around them. I think when all is said and done, the smoke clears, he's going to have some really, really impressive numbers against some of the all-time greats. And I worry with Lamar about injuries. I do. He was really, really good. That MVP season he had, he was really, really good. It's going to be difficult to replicate that. So that's my deal. I worry too much about Lamar getting hurt just with his style of play.
Tua or Trevor Lawrence?
Difficult, right? Because you talk about performance on the field, and Trevor Lawrence hasn't really gotten out on the field yet. I'm going to go with Lawrence, even though I've never even seen him play. I've seen a couple college games for him. He seems like more of a traditional NFL quarterback who will be able to throw the ball when needed. Tua's got this really long wind-up release. It's a little herky-jerky. Lefties don't have as much success in the league. I mean, Steve Young will tell me I'm crazy, but the lefties don't really have that much success in the league. I never really bought Tua as a QB. As an athlete, sure. I never really bought him as a quarterback. So those guys, I'm just going with Trevor Lawrence just because I am not a buyer at all in Tua.
Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers?
Oof. Well, last year's MVP race. I am going to go. This is going to be tough. I'm going to go with Mahomes. Rodgers has won 2 MVPs and Super Bowl, right? And he's now towards the tail end of his career. Got a couple years left, right? And he's now got some drama with the team. Who knows if he's going to stay there? You name it.
Three-time MVP.
3 times MVP, but Super Bowl once?
Yep.
You got it in front of you? So 1 Super Bowl, 3 MVPs, right? I think he probably finished his career with those numbers, and that is nothing to sneeze at. But Mahomes already has as many Super Bowls and one of the MVPs in 3 years. And that team's not going anywhere, and he's not going anywhere. And I think he's about to get into the prime of his career. Believe it or not, it's crazy to say that. So I can't see Mahomes at the end of his career being much worse than Rodgers. I could see him being better when it's all said and done. So I go with Mahomes on that reason. Nothing against Rodgers. You know I'm a Rodgers guy. I think Rodgers is great, one of the all-time greats. But I think all being equal, I go with Mahomes.
Burrow or Herbert?
I want to go Burrow. And I think Burrow may be the better talent. I think Burrow may be the better quarterback. But Herbert's slightly younger. And just history would tell you that the Chargers have always been a better offensive team. They play, in a better stadium, the whole deal. Obviously, it's a different stadium now. They're in a newer stadium the last year. And for whatever reason, the Bengals, they're just never really that good. And quarterbacks who go and play with the Bengals, they never really seem to have team support around them, never really have offensive weapons around them. They never really have a team built around them. Who was the last Bengals quarterback that you remember having success?
Nobody.
Yeah, I mean,
Not a
Boomer
single one.
Esiason, you know, I mean, like, you know, I mean,
That's way
seriously.
before my time, brother.
But that's the point, right? You know, I mean, I mean, Dan Fouts was Chargers quarterback who had really great offensive, you know, prowess. Phil Rivers was there for the longest time. You know what I mean? And that guy, for the last 5 years of his career, I mean, he legit couldn't move. He couldn't move if you pushed him. He couldn't move. And yet they still kept him upright and they still had him throwing at a huge, huge clip. So, you know, for me, it's less about the talent because I think Burrow may be the more talented quarterback. It's close, but I think Burrow may be the more talented quarterback. I think it's the situation. I think ultimately I go Herbert.
DK Metcalf or AJ Brown?
Same thing here. Who's throwing the ball to AJ Brown?
Tannehill's good, man.
He's very, very good. He's not Russell Wilson though, right?
No, but he's gotten better year over year.
And he has. And I don't know how much longer Tannehill does it. I mean, he's young. I think actually him and Russell Wilson
32.
They have rookies the
32.
same year. I think they're both 2012 rookies, by the way. So they both have Prism rookies. It's pretty cool.
Yes, they do. 2012.
I would go with Russell
right.
Wilson over that. Who else does Tennessee have? Their best weapon right now for the prime and production years of AJ Brown is actually Derrick Henry. Part of what makes Tannehill as good as he is that he has the best running back in the league. I think Henry is just a different breed. He's amazing. Whereas Seattle has a lot of weapons. DK doesn't always get double teamed because Lockett's just as good. I mean, different type of route runner and whatnot, but he commands coverage. Their running backs are almost interchangeable. Carson, there are a couple guys over there, but none of them are Derrick Henry level, and they're more of a pass-first offense. So I think ultimately DK is going to have good numbers. But the thing that wins between the two of them is DK is now getting this like aura. You know what I mean? He's getting this crazy like, look, he's a sprinter, right? Once you start making headlines outside the sport in the offseason, that takes your collectability to another level, and DK has that.
Some people will say AJ Brown is just a better wide receiver. I'm not going to go that route. Okay, so next one. DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones.
I'm going to go with Julio Jones because I think he's going to wind up in a decent situation now. And I read some stuff. Hopkins is great. I love him. He does have a tendency to get a little injured here and there and get lost in games, just like Julio Jones does. But I forget if it's 10 years in the league now that Hopkins is that Julio Jones has been in. The only one receiver who had numbers better than him, catches, yards, you name it, is Jerry Rice. So when you're going to be thought of as number 2 to Jerry Rice, you're doing fine. I think he has some real tread still left on the tires. And look, if I were Julio Jones, I'd be on the phone with Aaron Rodgers right now and say, listen, suck it up, go back to the Packers, walk into the front office and say, in order for me to come back, you give up a first-round pick, bring in Julio Jones. And by the way, this Jordan Love guy that you brought into the room, get him out of my face and send him to send him off to Atlanta. He can learn from Matty Ice. And we'll give up a draft pick and give me this guy and let me go win another MVP and a Super Bowl for you. That's what I would do if I were Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. So NBA, I'm doing a little different. Some of these guys are retired. Some aren't. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Ja or Zion?
I'm going to go with Zion. It's closer than you would think. I think Zion wins out because of his name. I think Zion wins out because he is that guy that people want to see succeed. People have invested in him. He's going to be the Nike, Jordan brand, you name it. And Ja is in Memphis. Not that New Orleans is this huge basketball mecca, but I think Zion has the ability to kind of transcend the sport and be somebody that people who are outside of it collect. Most people who are outside of the hobby don't know who John Morant is.
Steve Nash or Allen Iverson?
Allen Iverson. That's an easy one for me. Even though Nash remains relevant because, and he's underrated. Nash is an underrated player, definitely an underrated price for cards, and he's remaining relevant. Also, he's like a soccer guy, too, an incredible soccer player. Did you know that? And like he owns a team, I think, or part owner of a team as well. So he's definitely got some collectability. But Iverson was just one of those guys that transcended the game, and I think you could give Iverson a lot of credit for creating a lot of what's in the game today. A lot of the style with the athletes, a lot of wearing their own outfits, their own sneakers, their own, you name it, that that individual style that people are able to bring to press conferences, a la Harden, Westbrook, all these guys. I think that a lot of that is owed to Allen Iverson, and he took some lumps for it when he did it.
I was going to ask. I agree with everything you say. I would say he's extremely beloved, but does he get a lot? Does he get the credit he's due?
No, he does not. Yeah, and I mean, listen, he was like the anti-Jordan for a little while, right? He didn't go Nike. He went Reebok. He had his own shoe. He wasn't going to conform. He wasn't going to be the McDonald's cookie cutter Space Jam that Michael Jordan was. And he did his own thing with the baggy shorts and the cornrows for a little while. And I got to tell you, I mean, when he was in Philadelphia, I mean, he was like the coolest guy. You know what I mean? Like people AI. I want the answer. Like people on the court. When you play basketball, in the late 90s, it was I want to be Iverson. Not a lot of people yelling I want to be Jordan. I mean, if you're playing bad baseball, people yell I want to be Jordan. Yes, LeBron fans, I just took a shot at Jordan.
And he's so gritty. Okay, so this leads me. Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant cards? Jordan or Kobe?
Okay. So if we're talking about cards of equal value, like you were able to find for me an equal value assessment, like whether it would be 2 Kobe refractors and 1 Michael Jordan 86 Fleer, like let's just say that's $300,000. Give me those 2 and that 1, right? If it's even investment right now, I'm actually going to tell you to go with Kobe. Not because their performance on the court matters now, because it doesn't. Obviously, neither of them are there. You talk about performance on the court, you talk about bull market. One of the reasons that I love Pokemon cards so much was because the money that was going to be coming into the generation that collected them. I think about that. It's 96 to 99. I felt that was something that was going to be coming over the next couple of years. It actually came over the next couple of weeks from after when I bought them, but I still think that money's there. I think that the people who were growing up with that as their thing are now coming into their own. They're earning their money. They're getting their crypto money. They're making money on Dogecoin. They're trading. They're buying day passes out in Cancun, and they're trading Ethereum from 245 to 311 at night because you can trade it and make it $700. And look what they're doing. They're coming into their own. They're making some money, and those were the guys who like Pokemon. Well, guess what? That same time period was when Kobe came out, when Kobe was the big rookie, when Kobe got his fans, right? 96, 97, 98, 99. Now he's starting to win championships, right? And I think that over time, while Jordan will always remain culturally relevant and people who have money in this hobby will always be buying Jordan, I think for the next 5 to 10 year period, there will be a huge, huge fan base of collectors, investors, you name it, who are Kobe guys. Kobe, that's my guy. Go back to our first episode with Lefko, right? That's my guy. I think there's a lot of money coming in over the next decade where Kobe was the guy. Surprised?
No, I love Kobe.
Yeah, but I'm a Jordan guy. But
Wade or Shaq?
So I'm gonna say Wade. And I'm a huge Shaq guy, and I'll take Shaq over Wade. But I'm gonna say Wade for collectability. Same reason. The younger guys are more Wade guys. I think Wade's starting to get a lot more credit for the LeBron runs. And Wade has remained culturally relevant. So has Shaq. But you know what? The biggest knock on Shaq is what keeps his stuff from going to that stratospheric level, from rising, going hyperbolic. Is
it's that he mumbles.
There's so much of it. It was 1992, 93. It was like the junk wax time of basketball. Shaq was huge. It was just like when Zion came out. I've made this comparison a million times, right? And there is not unfortunately for Shaq, there is no, exquisite RPA for Shaq. There is no like auto numbered to 99 National Treasures RPA for Shaq. That would be the card. I'd be curious to see how that kind of a card did against there's members only beam team. It's not even a real rookie. It's an insert card. It's only going up because Gary told people to buy it. Come on now, folks. Be smarter than that. So, and I happen to like the Upper Deck one, but it went up, it came down. Some people like the Stadium Club one. Some people like Fleer. Like, there's just too many potential ones, to invest in with him. I'll go with Wade just because at that time there are these cards you could invest in with Wade. They weren't being as crazily produced as they were in 92, 93. He's hosting a game show about some kind of box. I don't know what the heck it is. So, I mean, I almost give a wash with him and Shaq. The cube, the box, whatever.
All right, we're almost there. Trey or Luka?
Luka.
LeBron or KD?
LeBron, because KD, I think KD might win this year. My stance. I think the Nets are the team to beat. But neither of them were able to do it on their own. But on balance, at least LeBron did one where you knew he was the guy, right? In KD's wins, assuming he wins this year, Curry was the guy. Curry was winning before he got there, and you can make an argument you needed a third. You needed Clay, right? When LeBron won his last two in Cleveland, he had Kyrie, right? KD's got Kyrie and Harden now. So you got to give LeBron a little more credit for that Cleveland one. And LeBron last year had Anthony Davis, who was his third. Kyle Kuzma. So I think you can really diminish the KD. I think that's always going to be the nagging thing. As crazy as it is, he's going to be able to win a title. I'm assuming here that he wins this year. He's going to win a title with two different teams, which is, that's a feat. But he's a can't beat him, join him type of guy, right? And I think that ultimately will lose out. Plus, LeBron's an all-timer, right? I'm not going to call him the GOAT, but he is a GOAT. And Durant's got a ways to go to catch up to him. I don't think he does. So.
I think that was fun. I think people enjoyed it.
Dude, this is my favorite episode. So far, I don't know how we're going to end this, but this is my favorite episode ever. And I don't say that. I know you talk about it, you enjoy it. This is fun. Because, one, I was able to be a cynic. I was able to be a cynic about, like, the Babe Ruth card. So, you know how much I love being skeptical and being a cynic. And then this is fun. I mean, I don't know if I'm right about all these, and I guess time will tell. But it's cool, a little rapid fire. We'd love to hear from you guys. Throw some comments in, on the YouTube where we're posting this one. Do you disagree with any of these takes and why? Please, we'd love to hear those. We'd love to hear your points, counterpoints, because I'm sure they're awesome. Go for it. You want to give a pick? I got one.
There's two scenarios. Yes, I'm going to give a pick. Are the Lakers done? That's my final topic.
I mean, LeBron came out with this big statement about how his shoulders were made for this, right? Like, he's got broad shoulders, and when AD got hurt, like, he was gonna, this is what he was made for. And then they came out and got trounced. Or they lose by 30 points, 20-something points, whatever it is.
Did he really say that?
Yeah. It was a big quote leading up to this game. Like, when AD wasn't there, he was, it was something like, this is what I got shoulders. This is what my shoulders are made for. I'll find it. But yeah, he basically was like, look, I put it on me. Like, I'll put the team on my shoulders and I'll carry him, which is fine. What's he supposed to say? Well, we lost AD. I guess we're gonna lose now. He can't say that. So
he came out very aggressive in the game yesterday. He took a lot of shots in like the first 4 to 6 minutes. He came out very, very aggressive. He was attacking the rim. He was shooting, and then they got trounced. I don't know, but this I'll give you a little alternate angle. Is AD coming back for next game?
You know what? Doesn't he have to? You know what I mean? Doesn't he have to give it a go? Right? I mean, I'm from the Willis Reed, generation here. Doesn't he have to limp out even if he's got to like leave after he limps out onto the court? Does he have to come out and like give him a little jolt of energy?
All right. How about this? Because the game's not. I don't believe the game is tomorrow. I think the game is Friday. No, the game is tomorrow. So they only got one day off. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's episode. Let's get into a plays, okay? Unless you want to give a shout out to Dame, who's your freaking guy, and he went off.
Well, then I'll give my play. Shout out to Dame, and Dame is my play. Unless you want to give you what? There's a teaser. Give you a play. But stay tuned for my Dame play, guys. He mentioned Dame, so you got a little teaser there.
My play
his quote was 2 days ago, LeBron says, these shoulders were built for a reason. when asked if he can carry the Lakers without AD. So what was it? A quote about his shoulders. These shoulders were built for a reason. So, yeah.
My play was twofold. One of the plays I think people are going to be like, and a little bit annoyed of it, but I think it's valuable.
Love it when you annoy me.
It's to go back and track your plays. So I believe history repeats itself, and I believe that if you can't remember, you can't see the forest from the trees, that whole thing. Well, in the last year, we've had ups and downs, and I think it's murky to know which plays and which specifically not plays, patterns have emerged that have made you the most money. So my suggestion in this down period in these next 2-3 months is to take inventory of what you've done well, what plays have gone successfully, what cards you graded successfully, and which you didn't. So that when the next bull market emerges, and it will emerge, you are prepared and you are able to spot patterns. That's my true play. I think that would be valuable because right now we're in a down market, and picking winners in a down market is extremely difficult. I'm going to give you someone that I think is a legend of football and one of my favorite players. And I'm not saying go buy this guy, but I like his cards and I think they're cheap. And it's LaDainian Tomlinson. I've always liked LaDainian Tomlinson. I don't know why. I guess I was playing fantasy football and he was like a guaranteed win.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Pretty much. But his Topps card is pretty cheap. And you can get a GOAT, a legend, from a 20-year card, just the Topps paper, for $250. So my true play is take inventories, take inventory and notice of the patterns that have worked for you in the last year. I think history repeats itself. We're going to see the same patterns emerge, and you're going to be prepared for the next bull market. That's what I truly believe, because when I do that, and I did that the last few days, well, I realized most of my money came from, just a small percent of winners. Kobe and Tyler Hero were basically my two breadwinners, and Zion. So Zion and Kobe were my number 1 and 2 winners, and 3 was Tyler Hero. But what do they all have in common? Kobe rookies getting them graded. Okay, there was an underpriced veteran GOAT of the game that I got graded, and they sold even the 7s, 8s, and 9s sold at a premium. That's one. The other one was put all your eggs in a prospect that you believe in. So I went all in on Zion. I didn't spread it around. I said, I know this guy's undervalued. I know this guy's undervalued. I know this guy. And I went big on those. So those are my 2 patterns that worked for me. For you, it might be completely different. So I would take inventory. And the second is the 2001 Topps paper PSA 10 for LT, LaDainian Tomlinson.
I love it. I really do. And I know I say I love it all the time, but I love the tracking thing. Even though it's not a play, it is important to know what you've done here. We give sayings here all the time. My yogi guru friend over here, who I call Yoda all the time, he's got all these sayings, but I'll butcher this one. But it's like, how will you be able to know where you're going if you don't know where you've been? Is a cool little saying, right? Like, it's easier to get to where you're going if you know where you've been, right? So that's what he's talking about, right? Like, if you track what your winners are, and there's probably a common thread to those winners, it'll be easier to get those winners going forward. So I actually like that a lot. My play today is, I'm going to say right off the bat, I do not own this card, and I regret not owning it. And it's also so low pop and so rare out there, not that many of them on eBay, not that many of them there, that I'm not going to buy this. Not because I don't believe in the card. I really want to just buy all of them, all right? It's because I'm giving a play for you guys to go and locate this card and find it at card shows or pop when it pops up. There's not that many of these on eBay at all right now. A couple of them.
Can I guess it?
Sure, please.
Is it the Prism, like the Prism Silver of Dame Lillard from 2012?
No, that would be great, but I'm not giving that as a play to folks. But it is a Dame Lillard card. Here's the thing, right? So I've talked about the bell curve in cards with grading and whatnot, right? We've talked about how, the Zion year here is going to probably be the top of that bell curve because it was the most entrance into cards. Everybody was grading. Excuse me. PSA hadn't done anything yet. It hadn't closed. It wasn't $300 to grade a LaMelo. And, we crested, right? And at the bottom of that curve, maybe 2025, going forward, but also is 2012 and 2013 your Giannis prisms we were talking about, those cards that just, didn't get graded, and they're not popping up as much anymore because in addition to not being graded, they just weren't printed with the same numbers that are printed now. So I'm going to give you put me on the spot. I'm going to give you questions, right? So if I were to tell you the 2020 Hoops Zion, just the Hoops Zion, forget about the hundreds of variations that are out there of Hoops in 2020. Forget about the premium, the Pulsar premium, the premium stock sets, the greens, the teal explosions, the whatever the hell, hundreds. I mean, that 2019 Hoops basketball has 4 pages on the PSA registry because it's only like a 200 and something card set, right? Because every card has 11 or 12 variants. I think Zion has his own page. Anyway, how many just base PSA 10s do you think there are of Hoops? Just the regular Hoops.
Zion Hoops?
Yep.
5,000.
3,917. There are over 5,000 of them graded. 5,498 graded. And there's 3,917.
Wow.
Right?
That's a pretty high percentage for like a cardboard flimsy card too. That's
But it's 4,000 PSA 10s, and it's likely that number will grow. There's probably a bunch of Hoops Zions still sitting at PSA waiting to come back, right? And that card,
there's a ton in bulk. It's not even funny.
Most recent sales on that $119, $120. Okay, for a Zion Hoops PSA 10. Fine. So keep that in the back.
That's going to be a $50 card when the supply hits the road.
Could very well be. But at 4,000.
Everyone I know, sorry, I'm hijacking your play. Everyone I know bulk sub that Hoops card. Those are right in the middle of everything.
So right now, 4,000 of them, with more coming, which is already probably depressing the price, and it's $120. Okay. Now, let's work our way back down that bell curve. All right. Talking about Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum. Tatum's 2017 Hoops.
Actually, I just graded some. That was my play at the beginning of the year.
So how many Hoops PSA 10 Jason Tatums do you think there are?
2750.
2721. Very close. Out of 3510 graded. So you have almost 4,000 Zions and almost 3,000 Tatums. And Tatum also.
Cage has his number 2 pencil out. This is good. This is a good episode.
For like $100 for the Tatum, right? So we're doing our bell curve, right? So that Zion, everybody loves Zion, $120. There's 4,000 of them. You work your way back, 2017, Tatum, almost 3,000 of them, 2,700 of them, also about $100, 100, 120. We're in that same vicinity. Now work your way down to the bottom of that bell curve, and Dame has a 2012 Hoops card. Okay, he's got a 2012 Hoops card, and it's a cool card. He's so young. He's got his hat on. Looks like it's like draft night or whatever it may be, right? It's really like a cool Dame Lillard Hoops card. Now, we just talked about it. There are 4,000 Zions, and they're $119 last sale. 3,000 almost Tatums, $100. Do you know how many PSA 10s there are of the Dame 2012 Hoops?
I want to say 700, but I'm going to say 450. I'm going to say 450.
263. 263 PSA 10s. And the last one sold for $138 and $141.
Already graded.
Already graded PSA 10s. On June 1st. Take a look at completed auctions, right? There are ones available for 2 and change or best offer, right? So you make your offers on them, you do this. 200, only 650 total graded of that Dame card. And here's where it gets even crazier on the pops, right? It's already enough that there's less than 10% of the Dame to Tatum, and that you're basically at like 6% of the Dame pop as opposed to Zion, for generally speaking the same price in the most completed auction. Here's where it gets crazy. Each one of the Tatum and Zion, as you approach those, there's more parallels in those years. In the Dame year, there's like an international one, and that's it. And that's like doesn't add much to the population. There's no golds. There's no, all these other crazy things. I mean, there might be a gold, but there's no like teal explosions and premium stocks and dreamium box and whatever the hell else you want to throw out there that adds to the population. Instead, what you got is 263 of these Hoops cards. Now, it is a cool entry-level Dame play, right? It is a great play for those of you out there that don't want to put the 4 figures into the Dame Prism card that most people will look for, right? And if I'm being honest with you, given the pop on this, If you told me you can get these cards for $138, $140, $150, as opposed to like the Prism at $1,500, I don't even know what the Prism's at. It's probably higher than that. You want to give me 10 of these for the same price as one Prism PSA 10? And now I'm sitting here with 4% of the whole population of 10s? Come on. It's a great entry-level play, low pop. And unlike those other ones that already sit with huge pop, 10 times, 15 times the pop, how many more of these you think are getting graded? Not many. So that pop is not going to inflate the way the other two are. So to me, you love Dame. The dude never saw a three-point shot he didn't like. I think he is a supreme talent. I think he's going to always be talked about in that top 10, category. And he happens to win one, forget about it. Just like LeBron's bazooka cards went nuts, and every single LeBron, not everybody can go out and buy that Prism card, right? Not everybody can go out and buy the Prism PSA 10. So they'll look for an alternative. And you think this one's going to stay $138 or $141? I don't.
This has been one of my favorite episodes. We'll wrap it here right at the hour mark. Cage, anything you want to say? Any final words?
Yeah, have fun, folks, and keep coming at us. We posted something today. Darren Ravel, I want to get you on the show. He didn't answer me. You guys message him if you want. Say, get on Lucas Tigers and Bronze and talk about your polls. Some great Twitter polls we posted on the podcast page. A lot of great interaction on that. We love having topics like that. We'll throw up another start one, bench one, cut one. You guys seem to love that stuff too. We love interacting with you guys. We love commenting. We love answering your stuff. We love getting your take on these things as well. It really is why we do this, right? We want to make sure that we're, the Luca Nation community is building up, and that we're here to answer questions, help you out in any way that we can. So keep that coming. It is my favorite thing. And I love this episode. Let us know what you think, guys. We'll post it on YouTube. I'd love to see some comments there. And if you're not subscribed to YouTube, take a look on our YouTube page, because we have a couple of new shows. New this past week, Conrad Uncaged. Awesome show. Got a great response. Sam Conrad gives his take on the current state of grading. The Come Up with Cage. We got 6 episodes of that already recorded. So you can take a look at that. It showcases new up and coming talent in the hobby who we think you guys should pay attention to, because we think they're doing good things. You got Andrew and Conrad do a show called Scouts, where they do a deep dive into basketball every week. So the YouTube channel, I would ask you guys to subscribe to that, because trust me, there's content on there you're not getting in your daily episodes here. And then one last thing, and this is just a personal request from me. I'm an old man. I don't know what I'm doing with a lot of this stuff. I really don't. And I hope you're enjoying the content we put out. I hope you enjoy the back and forth between Andrew and myself. And I hope you enjoy the visual content we put up there on Instagram. We've made this plea before, this call to arms. But if anybody out there in Luca Nation is interested in working with us, doing some video content, video editing, building up your own content brand, even, a little combination of the two, we'd love that. You want to start your own show, you want to, do a podcast, but you also, know how to do some video editing and that kind of stuff, please reach out to us. Send us a message. We would love to talk to you and help you build something up as you build something with us. So, yes, if I had anything to add, I added a few things. I hope you don't mind. Thanks, everybody.